Alright, it's been a while since we've done a zodiac sign, so time to continue that mini-series with the sign of Gemini. I am Dave the Amateur Magus. On this channel I talk all about the mechanics behind ceremonial magic, occultism, esotericism, and the mechanic behind everything you can find within a dusty old grimoire. If you like what I do here and you want to support the channel, link in the description of the Patreon where you can go subscribe and get exclusive access to videos early, Patreon exclusive videos, and the Occultic Manual series, which is a monthly write-up that is more instructional than what I usually have here on the channel, but less unapproachable than some of the old grimoires I like to reference on the channel. If any of that sounds of interest to you, link in the description, and if you are already subscribed over on Patreon, you have my thanks for your continued and ongoing support. Of all of the first 6 signs in the zodiac, I can't think of one with a worse reputation than Gemini. Gemini is the sign of bad reputations. People who like Geminis really like Geminis, and people who don't like Geminis absolutely despise Geminis. They are two-faced, duplicitous, absolutely terrible people who are never to be trusted, they will tell you. And, of course, the truth is somewhere in the middle, as it usually is. Now, it is important to note that when I'm talking about the sign of Gemini here, I am going to refrain from doing what I just did in that little intro there. I am talking about the sign as it is the sign. I am not talking about the sign as, I'm a sun sign Gemini, or I'm a moon sign Gemini. I am talking only about the sign itself. I am not talking about the sign in any other way. Let's get that out of the way. The sign of Gemini is primarily associated with thinking and communication. Now, the thing about Gemini is that it is one of the few signs of the zodiac that is associated with people, actually. It is one of the 3 notable signs that actually is just associated with a person, traditionally speaking. And in Gemini's case, it's actually pulling double duty because it's associated with 2. Gemini is the twins. And so we already have the theme of communication in the sign of Gemini. The card associated with the sign of Gemini is going to be the Lover's card. And the Lover's card is traditionally associated with love and romance. However, there is an aspect to it that is more about the decision-making and communication aspects of the card. The woman is looking up at the angel. She is not looking at the man. She is able to talk to the man. The man is looking at her. And this is symbolic for many things, but for the most part, the man is not looking at the divine. The man is effectively in a state of purgatory because he's got the burning bush behind him. And you've got the ability to have the woman talk to the man or not to talk to the man and tell him what to do in order to, if she just tells him to look up, he'll just see the angel because the angel is right there. But he's too enamored with her. This is where Gemini comes to choice. You have a fork in the road. Which crossroad are you choosing? When it comes to Gemini being our first mutable sign in this little mini-series I'm doing, Gemini is the introduction to the mutable signs. The mutable signs are all about what do you want to do, who do you want to be. In Gemini's case, that's sometimes literal because Gemini is a little bit bipolar. Gemini is 2 twins, right? So in that regard, Gemini can be either twin at either moment, right? It's the whole joke of Geminis always have 2 faces, and depending on which one you're talking to, they're very pleasant or an outright bastard. When it comes to the choices that Gemini gives you, it's really the yes or no. It is kind of a binary choice. When it comes to later signs, it's going to be a lot less cut and dry what the choice is. But when it comes to Gemini, we get the binary yes and no. Gemini also rules computers and electronics, so there's kind of that going on as well. One of the best magical successes I ever did was a yellow candle to manifest a new computer. This was when I was beginning in Magic. I did this under a Gemini full moon, and I didn't think much of it, and I ended up getting a computer given to me because I had done some very clever wordplay during that statement of intent, and I ended up getting a fairly expensive computer for free. And I have repeatedly done this kind of magic. Every time I have wanted a new piece of technology that is really important to me, I will do some kind of magic when the moon is in the sign of Gemini, if that is possible. This is because when the moon is in the sign of Gemini, they are more prone to Gemini-related things. And if it's banishing, that's when you can banish technological problems. If you're having a technology issue, you can use the sign of Gemini for that. If you're trying to get new technology, well, you can do it when the moon is waxing, and you can manifest that into your life. Gemini and its correspondence to communication and electronics, as I have just explained, should probably make it obvious, but the ruling planetary power for Gemini is going to be Mercury, a planetary power that I have not done a video on purpose. Gemini and Mercury kind of go hand in hand. However, Gemini is Mercury at its most excitable. It's not going around overly analyzing things like the sign of Virgo is. It is overthinking about a lot of different things. It is the fun facts version of Mercury. It is running around finding a bunch of facts and going, hey, did you know this? Hey, did you know this? And there's two voices because there's twins, and they're just running around willy-nilly trying to figure out what is going on, what they can do, and all of the different things. When scrying the elemental plane of air during the grade of Theuricus, the first zodiac sign that showed up to me was the sign of Gemini, as I had an experience with each and every one of the zodiac signs during the scrying of the elemental planes when I was doing the grades in the LTC up. He doesn't say you're supposed to do that, but I added it because I figured, why not? Might as well improve the scrying muscles at the time. Because I had already been scrying at the time, and I had already tried to develop a practice, and, you don't want to, it's use it or lose it. So I went ahead and I decided, I'm going to scry the elemental plane of air, and I did that, and then I learned that when you are talking to the sign of Gemini, both twins have an opinion, and you will not find the opinion of the other twin unless they tell it to you, and it is impossible to guess what that opinion is. It is impossible. Very rarely will those two agree. The spirits of Gemini are going to very much be what I like to call playing with information. The sign of Gemini never likes to tell you the full truth because then you know what its game is. If you are dealing with the sign of Gemini and spirits related to the sign of Gemini, you're going to find that they're going to leave out details often and frequently. This will most often piss off the sign of Sagittarius, which wants the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. But Gemini will tell you the truth when it feels like it, and it will usually tell you a good chunk of the truth if it feels like it, but it will never tell you the full truth. You will never get the full rambling story about what is going on and how to solve your problems, though Gemini knows how to solve your problems. Gemini is a great sign for problem solving, and so if you're having issues with your problem solving skills, I would highly recommend employing the sign of Gemini in order to improve your problem solving skills. In addition to that, the sign of Gemini is very adaptable and is known for its speed. It is also known for various other things, such as being a lying, two-faced bastard. And the reason for that is because Gemini will do exactly what you tell it to if you are dealing with the spirits of Gemini. The spirits of Gemini will do exactly what you want them to, but they will leave, they'll follow you to the letter, not necessarily do it in the spirit of what you are trying to do. They are going to try to, yeah, we manifested you this thing. Why are you mad at us for, causing you a bunch of problems in the process as it came through your wall like a wrecking ball? This is why some people would rather stay away from the sign of Gemini. In case it wasn't obvious, I personally don't have a big problem with the sign of Gemini. I think the sign of Gemini as a whole is generally pretty good. I generally tend to enjoy it, and I think that it might be because I have used the spirits of Gemini in a lot of my magic in the past. Gemini and Mercury are some of my most used spiritual powers. When I go to work with the elemental planes of air, I usually try to check in with Gemini. I don't usually try to go into dealing with the other two signs of the element of air. We'll get to them later. But usually Gemini and the mutable signs I get along with fairly well, despite the fact that I am very unmutable in my temperament. That being said, the sign of Gemini moves away, and the sign of Gemini is the ending of spring. And with the ending of spring comes the beginning of summer, and that is where we get the beginning of the sign of Cancer, which we'll have to wait for another time. I have been Dave the Amateur Magus. Hope you guys are having a good day. If you're not having a good day, hope your day gets better. Take it easy, take care, and I will see you next time. Once again, if you want to support the channel, link in the description to the Patreon. My thanks for your continued and ongoing support to all my Patreon members. Hope to see you there.